So hey anime fans, the series name is What If Naruto Destroy Akatsuki, so let's start the series. Naruto grumbled, "This sucks," and rattled the chains that held him to the wall. Sighing, Sakura whispered, "I'm going to die a virgin." Naruto said, "You're 16. Sakura blinked, "So?" Sakura only looked perplexed as Sasuke snickered and Naruto concealed a smile. Naruto chuckled and said, "You must be the only virgin out of the rookie 9. Sakura blinked once more, asking, "You aren't?" "Nope, what did you think would happen when I went off with Ero Sennin?" "You mean?" Sasuke began, looking startled. "Yeah," Naruto said with a blink. "Huh? You said dash. I meant that he led me to all the brothels where his spies were and thought it was his goal to make sure I got laid with a pretty lady." Sakura moaned, "Oh," her yaoi fantasy bursting like a bubble. Naruto inquired, "What about you, Sasuke?" Sakura's lips were pressed firmly in a line. Naruto pleaded, come on. Tell us how." "The fangirls in Oto are much more forwards than those in Konoha," said Sasuke. "Aren't the fangirls in Konoha the ones who tied you up and tried to have their way with you in your own room but Kakashi saved you, at age 12? Naruto looked up. "More forward than that," shivered Sasuke. Sakura and Naruto exchanged sympathy looks with him before he coughed awkwardly. Hoshigaki Kisame, who was standing uncomfortably to the side, caught the attention of all three. Naruto squinted and asked, "What was the topic again?" Sakura remarked, "I don't think there was one." Sasuke replied in a monotone, "We were talking about how pitiful we are being captured by Akatsuki and all." Naruto answered seriously, "Oh, yeah," before sulking and saying, "This sucks." Sakura groaned and replied, "You already said that." "Oh, well then. I'm too pretty to have the Kyuubi sucked out of my gut into a giant statue over a 3-day period of immense pain that will leave me dead," he said. Sakura blinked and said, "That's actually fairly detailed." Kisame let out a frustrated groan. "Did we say we were going to do that?" he inquired. Each of the three looked back at him. "Well, no," Naruto sighed. "But you implied it with all the trying to capture me and stuff." Kisame cocked an eyebrow and said, "Would we have taken the time to capture those two if we were just focusing on you though?" Sakura was still wearing her Konoha hospital uniform with bloodied rubber gloves, Sasuke was still wearing his Oto outfit, his hair slightly singed from his previous training, and Naruto was still wearing his jumpsuit with a scroll on his day's technique from Jiraiya in his pocket. The three of them exchanged glances. "You know, this is fairly well planned," Sakura said. "And you put a lot of effort into getting Naruto from Jiraiya and Sasuke from Orochimaru and me from Tsunade." Naruto scowled and remarked, "Well, it wouldn't have been so hard if someone hadn't turned traitor and fled." Sasuke rolled his eyes and said, "Oh, not this again. I told you, I needed power. And you couldn't get it in Konoha?" "Not really, no." Naruto scowled. "Back on topic," yelled Kisame. Naruto scowled and asked, "Topic? What was the topic again?" "I think the topic is that we were all captured for a reason other than watching you die painfully," Sakura replied with kindness. Said Sasuke. Kisame twitched, then inhaled deeply to settle himself. "To get their attention," he began, "we caught you because we had an offer for you." "Offer?" suspiciously said Naruto. "Don't you want to have Kyuubi sucked out of my gut into a giant statue over a 3-day period of immense pain that will leave me dead?" "They could be negotiating over that," Sakura said. "I mean we could be leverage." "Why would they need leverage though?" There are 10 S-rank criminals that could hold me down to suck Kyuubi out of my gut into a giant statue over a 3-day period of immense pain that will leave me dead. They just want to kill you, snarled Sasuke, can't you drop that? I know, but I don't think it's fair to Kyuubi. I mean, would you want to live in a giant statue? Well, no, Sakura said. But Kyuubi is also a being of mass destruction and evil. Kyuubi takes offense to that, Naruto said. He prefers the term God of Chaos, not being of mass destruction and evil. Same thing, shrugged Sasuke. Kisame sighed with a shudder. He begged, can't I just give you my offer? They all gave him another glance. With suspicion, Naruto said, offer? Don't you want to have Kyuubi dash? Sasuke noted, you already said that. Naruto inquired, oh, what offer then? Quite plainly, Kisame stated, we wanted you three to join Akatsuki. There was a prolonged period of quiet. You know, Sakura continued after a long pause, I really need to get checked out at the medical center when I wake up because dreams like this aren't normal. NH, concurred Sasuke. With an embarrassed sigh, Naruto murmured, I don't know, this seems pretty normal for my dreams. Both of them furrowed their brows at him. You dream about people out to kill you asking you to join them, replied Sakura. Naruto remarked, well, sometimes. Sakura politely inquired, and how does that make you feel? Well, sometimes. Naruto began to let go of his chains. I'm honored. I mean S-class criminals asking you to join them? That's great praise for your skills coming from them. Sometimes I'm insulted though. I mean they're asking me to throw my morals away for them as if I was the type of person that would do so. Sakura inquired, and why do you think you have these dreams? Well, Kisame said, enough. This isn't a therapy session. Naruto questioned suspiciously, how would you know what one sounds like? Kisame remained strangely quiet. Anyways, Sasuke remarked, drawing attention to himself, what's the real offer? Offer? What offer? Inquired Naruto. Sakura remarked, the one Hoshigaki-san wanted to give us. With suspicion, Naruto said, offer? Don't you want to have Kyuubi dash? Kisame yelled, shut up. Shut up. Shut up. The three remained still in their gray cell as he turned and stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind him. Sakura pondered, I wonder what the actual offer was. Sasuke snorted. Kisame returned 10 minutes later, much more composed. He firmly said, the offer. Everyone gazed at him. With suspicion, Naruto said, offer? Don't you want to have Kyuubi dash? Kisame covered his mouth with a piece of duct tape. Grunting, good job, Sasuke said. It won't last long though, Sakura said with a sigh. He's already trying to lick the glue away, if that doesn't work he'll just eat it. Kisame drew a big breath despite shuddering. The offer we wished to make was to have you join us as I said before. Well, if this is on the odd chance not a dream, Sakura began, would have to say hell no. Uchiha? No, Kisame let out a sigh. We asked you because you're all strong in your own right, all of you have been trained by a Sannin, one of you has a bloodline, the other has the Kyuubi, and the last. He looked at Sakura, who was patiently waiting. Anyways, he continued ignoring her anger, we wanted you to join us. To sweeten the deal we would train you some and you would be your own team after you are accepted and trusted fully. Sakura shrugged and said, still a resounding no. As an extra positive, he said, we would sign a neutral treaty with Konoha. If you say no we'll target Konoha specifically. Sakura grimaced. She could see Naruto considering the offer, so she decided to either say no and target Konoha or accept the bargain, which was now clearly a good one. Those nitwits will now say yes, Sasuke admitted. But still a no for me. You employ my clan-murdering older brother who I've sworn to kill. Exhausted from interacting with the three, Kisame massaged his eyes. Itachi will apologize. I don't care. He will also make you some ginger snaps as an apology. You could practically see Sasuke's thoughts as he froze, and Sakura and Naruto stopped to raise their eyebrows at him. Ginger snaps or revenge? With a slurp, Naruto tore the duct tape off and chewed on it aimlessly while Kisame looked appalled. When Naruto spoke out loud, I didn't know you had a weakness for ginger snaps. Sasuke grimaced. If I had, I would have used them in all the traps I've made to try and get you to return. Sakura noted, if we had known he probably wouldn't have left in the first place. I bet Orochimaru knew, the bastard probably used that weakness, Naruto sighed. Both of them disregarded Sasuke's mutterings that, Itachi's are the best, I will never eat the ones Orochimaru made ever again, and, once I restore it, I'll make Kabuto the main cook for my clan, his are good. Itachi said he would also finish training you as he promised, Kisame said. All right, complained Sasuke, but tell him that he needs to prepare 4 dozen ginger snaps for me. Kisame rolled his eyes and added something he knew would attract the orange lad after noticing Naruto's peculiar attitude. One of our members, Tobi, is a world-class ramen chief. Naruto drooled, I'm in. Oh God, I'm in. Sakura grimaced and let out a deep sigh that Kisame could nearly relate to. Fine, I'm in. With a sigh of relief, Kisame left them in the jail to go deliver the good news to Pain. Kisame stated, they said yes, as he entered the room. Like the majority of the other members, Deidara blinked and said, who said yes, Kisame turned away from him to face Pain. Good, bring them in. Before I do that, I would like to say I think this is a bad idea, Kisame murmured. Pain raised an eyebrow and inquired, why? They're all insane and they're teenagers. Sasori sniffed, aren't those 2 words synonyms? I mean more insane than usual. What teens? Growled Haiden. Kisame and Itachi have brought in 3 teens I wish to make members, Pain grinned. Now please bring them in. After complaining and rushing out of the room, Kisame returned 5 minutes later. A curious voice asked, so this is the main chambers of your secret lair of doom, from the corridor. A second, clearly female voice said, I don't think it's that secret, adding, I mean, when I looked out the window I saw a bunch of people walking the streets below. Observing that, I know, but it could be even secret from them, the first. NH, was the response of the third. 3 kids, all about 16, entered the room. One of them seemed strikingly recognizable, and the boy eyed them all. Wow, Akatsuki's a bunch dash, admonished the second, don't say that. He said, you're thinking it too though, she said with ease, but I'm polite enough not to voice it aloud. Well, I still think they're a bunch of freaks and I'm not going to hide it. I mean a half shark, a half plant, a bored redhead sitting on something resembling a giant hunchback, a creepy orange-haired man with hundreds of piercings, a girl with hair as blue as yours is pink, a blonde playing with clay using mouths on his hands, Uchiha Itachi, someone with a cool orange mask, someone with eyes that look extra creepy and looks to be held together by millions of stitches, and an albino with no shirt on. Conveniently disregarding the boy's description of them, Kakuzu questioned seriously, isn't that the Kyubi boy, as he glanced at the blonde wearing the bright orange jumpsuit. He agreed to join. Why yes, I hold the Kyubi, haughtily replied Naruto, but I have a name you know, it's Naruto, and I'm mostly over the hole you want to have Kyubi sucked out of my gut into a giant statue over a 3-day period of immense pain that will leave me dead. Mostly, inquired the second figure. The second figure was a girl who appeared to have been taken from out of a hospital. She was dressed in a white lab coat, a white nurse's gown, and bloodied latex gloves. Her bright pink hair was pulled back in a low, short ponytail. With a sniff, the blonde said, "Yes, mostly, I mean, they have ramen." With seriousness, Toby exclaimed, "Hail ramen." "Hail ramen," was Naruto's serious reply. Everyone stared as they both nodded respectfully. "Now ramen's a cult," a mocking voice said. The third figure had spiky black hair, a familiar face, and an attire that was typically thought of as Oto's. Deidara yelled, "Oh Heiden's god, an Itachi clone, Kisame snorted. Itachi rose composedly and said, "Hello foolish little brother." "Itachi," Sasuke yelled, "you'd better have those ginger snaps by tomorrow or I'll kill you in your sleep." Itachi smirked as he continued, "I already have the ginger snaps made. You're far too predictable, foolish little brother." Sasuke let out a cry of indignation. "Damn you for predicting me. You knew I would join. Of course, your weakness to ginger snaps is something I will always exploit." Sasuke gave him a hiss. "Wow, that was dramatic," the girl said, rolling her eyes. The Kyubi lad smiled and said, "Let them continue. I'm curious to see if they'll start fighting." Pain cleared his throat, drawing everyone's attention to him. "Would you please introduce yourselves?" Naruto bounded forward and exclaimed, "I'm Uzumaki Naruto. I love everything to do with ramen, and I'm going to be Hokage." Toby said, "Hail ramen." "Hail ramen," Naruto said with a nod. "I'm Haruno Sakura, I specialize in medic jutsus and chakra control," she said with a smile. "I hate morons, so I'm watching you blondie." She gave Deidara a scowl that caused Haiden to laugh and Sasori to smirk. "You too naked boy," she said, giving Haiden a fierce look. Before Sasuke stepped up, he spluttered. "Uchiha Sasuke, I'm here for the promised ginger snaps and to make my older brother's life a living hell." In a monotone, Itachi remarked, "You're welcome to try." "Good, good, Kisame, show them to their room," Pain declared. "Yes sir," Kisame sighed as he walked slowly out of the room. Naruto said, "Wait a minute, we share our room?" "All partners do," Pain replied. "There will be 3 spaces in your room divided by a wall with an open archway. It's to bond. If we aren't out by morning," Sakura added with seriousness, "I've killed them both in their sleep and will be experimenting on their bodies." Naruto whimpered, "But Sakura, that might let Kyubi out." "We've already went over this," she said. "Jiraiya has told you your death will not release him, so that threat isn't going to work." Sasuke cut in, "The ginger snaps." Itachi threw a Ziploc bag at him. "There is the first dozen, you will have the rest tomorrow, foolish little brother." As he crouched over the cookies and trailed behind Kisame, the other arguing behind him, Sasuke murmured something. Pain mumbled, "Why do I get the feeling this was a mistake?" Konan gave him a comforting shoulder pat. Naruto smiled and exclaimed, "Who? This place is awesome." There was a dresser, a closet, and a small desk packed into the good-sized room with a window overlooking the dreamy city of pipes and metal. He clambered onto his bed, which was covered with a large orange blanket and an orange pillow. The walls surrounding him were the same shade of blue as his eyes. There was a door leading into a fair-sized white and black bathroom with a shower, toilet, and 3 sinks on a counter, and Sakura's space was a brilliant jade green color with a red draped bed and curtains. Sasuke's was the same as Sakura's, but it was a deep Sharingan red with a black bed and an extra table-like desk in place of a shelf unlike Sakura's. Kisame murmured, "Itachi decorated it, from the door that led back into the hallway." "Itachi decorates," smiled Naruto. "When he wants," said Kisame. "I think he just gets bored, spends his free time reading magazines. He's a good interior decorator. Now, I'm going to bed, see ya." Then he departed. Naruto remarked, "He was a little quiet, wasn't he?" Sakura noted that, "He did have to deal with you for more than an hour, which depresses anyone." "Are you implying that I have issues?" he mockingly insulted, sniffed. "Aside from your ADD, she furrowed her brow. "I have no AD, I. Is that a sword?" Sakura looked at what had diverted his attention and noticed that Sasuke was placing a sword beneath his pillow, but he hadn't even done that on purpose to play a practical joke on her. Simply said, "It is my favorite weapon," Sasuke stated. Naruto smiled and said, "I like to think Kage Bunshin is my favorite weapon." Sasuke snorted. "I enjoy scalpels," Sakura grinned. "They're usually so delicate and sharp, and they're great at cutting into flesh. You can cut cleanly with them. They're also kind of discreet, after all. Who would imagine the adorable, innocuous doctor to suddenly spring up and stab you with a scalpel? I'll say something like, 'Ha. You bitch got stabbed. I bet you weren't expecting that. Didn't you think the adorable girl with the pink hair would suddenly stab your bare throat with a cold metal scalpel? Ha. Since Sakura was clearly a little loose right now and he didn't want to draw her notice, Naruto cautiously made his way back to his room and slipped under the bed, deciding it was time to go to sleep. Sasuke promptly followed his lead as Sakura giggled over her bloody gloves. Naruto woke up with a rumbling stomach, whined softly, and prodded his head out of his orange blanket den. He cautiously looked around, but there was little light and no movement. It was raining outside, so he slunk out of bed and into the bathroom, where he ducked under a shower for a few minutes before putting on his clothes. He hurried down the hall, unsure of his destination, and came to a junction where he froze when he smelled something heavenly. "Ramen?" he slobbered and ran after the enticing aroma. Shortly after, he discovered the source as he slipped into a bright yellow and green kitchen where the orange-masked Ramonite from the previous evening was preparing a massive pot of ramen. "Hail ramen," Naruto said with a smile. The man whirled. He said, "Hail ramen, you're Naruto?" "Yes." "Are you the renowned ramen chef Kisame mentioned?" Naruto smiled. When the masked boy said, "Oh, Kisame gives Toby too much credit," he stammered. Naruto drooled, "Not from the smell of it. May I have some?" Toby concurred, "After it's over, tell me why you joined Akatsuki." "Well, they gave me an offer I couldn't really say no to. The clincher was mentioning you, the ramen chef, though." A new member was brought in thanks to Toby. Await Toby's revelation to Zetsu. What a good boy Toby is. What brought you to Akatsuki? Naruto inquired. Toby laughed and said, "Funny story, see, Toby used to be a man named Madara." Sakura yelled out, "Naruto," as she entered the kitchen. "Did you eat your ramen for breakfast?" Naruto nodded from his seat at the table, "Yup." Smuttering to himself as he shoved cookies from the Ziploc bag into his mouth, Sasuke crept up behind Sakura. "You must listen to Toby's tale," Naruto woke up and said. "He used to be this nut named Uchiha Madara who wanted to destroy the moon with the captured Bijou in order to become a god, but then like all the members in Akatsuki figured it out and ganged up on him and totally hooped his ass. Then they like exorcised him from Tobi's body because Tobi's body used to be this guy named Obito who was half crushed by boulders. Madara, nutty as he was, fixed Obito and then took over his body, sort of like Orochimaru. When he was exorcised, he left behind a bunch of his memories and experience with Tobi, and his departure evoked some of Obito's memories. Tobi claims he's a bit loopy from the mix, but he's enjoying being in control of his actions now. Sakura blinked once, then twice, and Sasuke briefly stopped eating his cookies as Naruto concluded his narrative. His brows were furrowed in contemplation. Sakura remarked, "I think I need coffee before I deal with this, along with breakfast. Has anyone left any ramen?" "Yes. You must have some as it's the greatest I've ever tried, so I asked Tobi to keep some for you." "Ramen once more, huh?" As he entered the room, Deidara mumbled. Naruto and Tobi sniffed at his jab at ramen. Tobi pouted, "Make your own breakfast then, senpai." As he poured some coffee with Sakura, the blonde headed for the refrigerator and took out a big piece of cheese, chewing into it. "Caffeine every day, right?" he smiled as he asked. Sakura said, "Yes, I need it," and, less than a second after Sasori and Pain entered the kitchen, they sat at the table and Pain pulled out a scroll as they huddled over it. Sakura took 2 bowls of ramen and slid one to Sasuke, who sat down next to Tobi and gazed intently at the man in the mask. "Breakfast ramen?" "I expected it of Tobi because he's been here for a while and of Uzumaki-san because of his file," said the blue-haired woman Konan as she swept into the room. "But you also Haruno-san? You don't spend time with Naruto as your teammate without getting a taste," said Sakura. Then, to the dismay of most onlookers, she poured her coffee into Naruto's emptying bowl instead of the soup, stirring it around to allow the coffee to seep into the noodles before taking a big bite. Deidara wrinkled his nose at the mixture and said, "Ugh, what?" "I like it," sneered Sakura. Over time, it appeared that the other members gradually drifted down into the kitchen, leaving everyone to fend for themselves in terms of food. "Is everyone constantly present in the hidden base of doom?" Naruto inquired of Pain, who had been sitting next to him. "Mostly, unless they have a mission or something else to do. It's safest here, we control the city after all." "Really?" Sakura brightened. "Anyway, where are we?" "Aim," replied Konan. "Never been here," Naruto smiled. "Cool, may I go explore?" Pain shrugged and said, "If you don't try to escape." "Don't really want to," said Naruto. "This is a great break from Jiraiya and I'm pretty much over the whole have Kyuubi sucked out of my gut into a giant statue over a 3-day period of immense pain that will leave me dead plan from before, so I really don't see you as the enemy anymore. Can we send letters to our Hokage?" "I mean, she's probably freaking out," Sakura inquired. "Other locations in Konoha. Where in the world is my apprentice?" Tsunade hurled a desk through the wall with a shout. An ANBU attempted to soothe her by saying, "We're searching Hokage-sama." "Not challenging enough," Tsunade growled. "A man who looked like Hoshigaki Kisame abducted her from the hospital during the day. I want her located as soon as possible." She took hold of the ANBU and hurled him out of the opening in the wall that the previously thrown desk had caused. "I'll tear your balls off if you don't start looking for her." "Was your apprentice also taken?" Jiraiya was sitting on her windowsill when Tsunade turned around. "Go through the damn door. That's what it's designed for," she shouted. "Sheesh, please relax," he complained. Tsunade remarked, "Wait, what do you mean your apprentice was stolen too?" in a menacing tone. Oh, nothing, Jiraiya gasped. I mean, the toad I called to watch Naruto train couldn't have witnessed Uchiha Itachi knock the boy out and take him away. Jiraiya had never witnessed anything so horrifying as Tsunade, who appeared to be breathing fire. So I take it that you are not accountable for the kidnapping of Uchiha Sasuke? Kabuto was standing in the open doorway when the two turned around. Tsunade whispered, the enemy is the one who finally uses the door. What was the Uchiha about? Jiraiya attempted to inquire calmly. Tsunade reluctantly read the scroll that Kabuto threw at them before disappearing in a cloud of smoke. Greetings, Konoha. I would like Uchiha Sasuke back if that brat Uzumaki has stolen him from me. If it wasn't stated, please ignore this letter. Orochimaru. But what does Akatsuki want with those three? Jiraiya thought, I'm betting Akatsuki grabbed the boy. Someone but Kyuubi, Tsunade growled. Other than Kyuubi, if they wanted just Kyuubi they would only have gathered Naruto to have the Kyuubi sucked out of his gut into a giant statue over a 3-day period of immense pain that would leave him dead. Tsunade seems prepared to explode at the thorough response. Returning to aim. I have the oddest feeling that Jiraiya is about to get murdered. Naruto looked up. What? Sasuke snorted. Are your Jiraiya senses highly developed? Sakura laughed. They go off when he does something that's not the smartest and when he's in danger, said Naruto. What caused you to acquire those senses? Sakura blinked. Usually if he's in trouble we have to run or he drags me in too. When I get the feeling I usually hide out for a few hours. You learn something new every day. Does it rain like this all the time? Sasuke whispered while munching on a cookie. Yes, replied Konan. The blue-haired woman had assisted them in leaving the labyrinth of hallways that comprised the spacious apartment-like structure where their headquarters was located. After breakfast, the three had gone exploring and were disoriented, losing all chance of survival until Konan appeared in their path. Sasuke only stated, I'm staying in, while gazing at the rain with hatred. Sasuke, hurry up, Naruto whimpered. No, I have to keep an eye on Itachi, he still has not given the promised 3 extra dozen ginger snaps. You've been able to make a dozen last this long? You haven't stopped cramming them in your mouth since you got them, Sakura inquired, startled. She sniffed and said, sorry, I can't understand snob. Naruto translated absently, he said, it's a talent. She looked at him disbelievingly, but he had already disappeared into the rain to explore the new city. Sasuke slunk away, leaving Sakura and Konan alone. Why does it rain all the time? She inquired. Pain has a jutsu that allows him to sense anything the rain hits. Sakura gazed with wonder. She whispered in amazement, a jutsu on that level, wow, he's strong, but imagine how much of a pervert he is. Yo, squirt. Naturally, Naruto yelled, don't call me a squirt. When he looked up, he saw Kisame holding a basket and a towel. For what purpose is that? He blinked. We have a natural hot springs attached to this building. Cool, smiled Naruto. Want to leave? I'll go grab the others. Then he disappeared. He saw Sasuke sharpening his sword in the same room where Sakura was hovering over a letter she was writing in record time. Would you like to take a plunge in the hot springs? He smiled. Warm springs, Sakura became alert. She quickly obtained a towel and joined him, and they followed him to the location where he had left Kisame. Kisame then led them to the first floor of a natural spring, which had been modernized with the wooden locker room and the underwater benches. Naruto saw the red-headed Sasori already in the steaming water, so he ducked into the locker room and began stripping, with Sasuke following. Naruto then stopped and turned back to Sakura. The fact that she was already undressed startled him. Sakura, only after giving what he had liked before she had it a thorough examination did he squeal. She had good B-cup breasts, no fat, just well-toned muscles, and a pretty hourglass figure that she had actually covered up a little under her nursing uniform, which she hadn't taken off yet. She wasn't the most beautiful person he had ever seen, but she was really pretty, and the fact that he was finally seeing his old crush, Nake, made his brain temporarily shut down. Naruto observed that Kisame and Sasuke were likewise in awe at her spontaneous striptease performance. "What?" Sakura asked, looking perplexed as she folded her garments. "When I heard Naruto bringing you down, I thought you'd bolt once you realized it was a co-ed spring," Kisame replied, sounding a little choked. "Why?" She blinked. "You're no different from my male patients at the hospital, and I know you've all seen a nude female body, so why would I run? Male anatomy is all the same save for minor features that vary from person to person." Kisame seems taken aback by the response. Sasuke stutteringly said, "You used to have this thing called modesty, don't I? Even though I would never go about nude, I'm supposed to be at a hot spring." Naruto said, attempting to figure out this new Sakura, "But before you used to blush at any guy who had no shirt on, let alone naked." Before a fist slammed into his head, he could still recall hearing her scream in anger and seeing a flash of stomach. He winced at the memory of agony and concluded he liked this one far more. "Oh yeah, I did that until I became Tsunade's apprentice. She didn't want me blushing at the naked body or technical terms, so she, in her words, desensitized me." Sakura glanced at them. Whimpering, "Naruto, why are you still a virgin then?" said he. "I mean, I thought you were still one because you were too shy or something." She blinked. Naruto let out a dejected sigh. "I knew me and Sasuke were messed up a long time ago, but it seems the ninja life has got to Sakura too." Before making her way to the springs, she just blinked and placed her perfectly folded clothes in a cubbyhole. Kisame and Sasuke trailed after, but Naruto ripped his own clothes off, threw them in a heap, and ran to catch up. When Sakura bent down to plunge into the water beside him, Sasori, who had been sitting in the springs, returned to them and exhibited the greatest reaction Naruto had ever witnessed. Sakura had noticed his situation, but she didn't know why, so she slipped into the water and walked right up to him, making him choke even more. Then she placed her hand on his throat, and it lit green, clearing his airway. He had just taken a sip from a glass of something when she leaned over to test the water, giving him a very good frontal view. He had spit all of his drink in a fine mist before choking violently on the remainder. "You all right?" she inquired without retreating. He nodded once curtly and swallowed again. "I was not expecting that," said Sasori in a quiet voice. Kisame whispered, "Us either." The remainder of the time was spent less awkwardly. Sasori had no trouble eyeing Sakura directly and taking in the scenery, while Kisame simply swam to the other side of the pool, muttering something about crazy and failing to notice. Naruto and Sasuke eventually relaxed after realizing they didn't really care. Sasuke simply relaxed into the water without giving a thought, while Naruto half enjoyed the view while playing around, mostly by splashing everyone. "Hey Itachi, how are you?" When Naruto discovered Itachi baking in the kitchen, he inquired. "Ginger snaps." "Why?" "Sasuke, to extort him?" "NH." Naruto read the NH and smiled broadly. "Do you still think of Sasuke as your adorable younger brother, Itachi?" "Yes, so I assume you're not really to blame for the entire Uchiha massacre?" Itachi looked over at him. "When?" He went on, "Did you become so intelligent?" "What?" I was correct. You're not to blame, Naruto gave a startled yelp. Itachi gave an eye roll. Come, I'll teach you. How are ginger snaps made? Yes. No thanks. Come. Naruto gasped at the whirling Mangekyo. Yes sir. Are you guys hungry? Sakura inquired. Only Naruto knew that Itachi had about 12 more frozen and hidden to bribe the boy later. Naruto himself had a few dozen put away, and his weren't too bad if he did say so himself. But didn't he say so himself? Say to himself, say himself, himself so said, that would require more pondering. Sasuke nodded only once, jamming another ginger snap in his mouth. Yes, I am starving. As he brushed the other topic aside, Naruto shouted. Sakura nodded and said, let's go get something to eat then. Who? You cook, Sakura. Why me? She inquired. Because I bought the groceries. You did? Yup, talked to Conan for a while. Everyone has their own cupboard of food and they're in charge of their own food. We all share the pots and pans and stuff. You can share if you want, but no one really does. Sasuke grinned and said, ah, you bastard, take that back. I'm a really good cook. I can, indeed. Simply said, I don't want to. Sakura simply dismissed their conversation and went to the kitchen, where they discovered Tobi preparing a big sandwich. Sasuke simply grinned while Naruto simmered. Hello, Tobi. Despite the fact that they were only a few feet away, Naruto waved enthusiastically. Hello, Naruto, Tobi waved with the same fervor. Preparing a sandwich? Naruto inquired. Yes, are you also having dinner? Yup. As Sakura opened the cabinet Naruto had marked as theirs with bright orange paint, she noticed that most of the drawers and cupboards had labels. When she opened the 3 doors that belonged to them, she discovered that they were packed full of food. Have you placed the perishable items in the refrigerator? She inquired. A massive refrigerator was positioned in the corner. Nope, Naruto replied with a sigh. I put them in a storage scroll, one of the ones made to hold perishable foods for up to a week. He gestured to the scroll, which was hidden at the cupboard's edge. She opened it to discover tidy seals labeling the contents and other information. Did you create this on your own? She inquired inquisitively and in awe. Well yeah, I was with Jiraiya for 3 years and he's a seal master. You pick a few things up. Sakura grinned in spite of herself. I'm impressed. Naruto said, thanks, blushing. Sasuke grinned and said, and I'm impressed you didn't just buy ramen. Tobi shouted, hail ramen, while he picked up his sandwich. And I did, it's in that scroll over there, Naruto said back, glaring at Sasuke. Hail ramen. Sakura surmised that a second scroll contained enough instant ramen to last for at least a year. Have you taken your medication for the day? She inquired. Yeah, I had some a while ago. Good, make sure you have it every day with me around or I'll sedate you until you can eat it. Yes ma'am. Daily dosage, with a raised eyebrow, Sasuke inquired. I had access to his medical records and reviewed them, Sakura added. Have you ever wondered why no one made an effort to stop him from eating so much ramen? Sasuke gave a shrug. Well, it seems that the seal that keeps the Kyuubi ties their souls together in a way so that he can't break free without dying, but with their souls tied together the Kyuubi can experience things through some of Naruto's senses, like his sight, his hearing and his taste. At the first taste of ramen Kyuubi became as addicted as Naruto. But a bit more extreme, ramen to Kyuubi is like catnip to a cat. Yeah, after ramen he always natters on, Naruto said. Wants me to go fight a bunch of people, or invade a village, or find lots of vixens. Anyways, Kyuubi has some access to Naruto's own souls as his is tied to it, not a large enough degree to ever do much, but he can make Naruto hyper and make his body a bit twitchy. Unless Kyuubi gets a certain amount of ramen a day, he messes with Naruto's body to a degree making Naruto very, very hyper. Combine that with Naruto's ADD and pranks and you've got chaos. Wow, said Sasuke, blinking, that clarifies a lot about you. Hey! In any case, what are your supper preferences? Sakura inquired. Pancakes, with excitement, Naruto murmured. Sasuke? Ginger snaps. Pancakes it is. When he was dismissed, Sasuke made a grumpy noise. When Naruto yelled out, "Hey Sakura!" Yes, Naruto, as she undressed and climbed into bed, Sakura inquired, "Has the letter been sent today?" Yes, I sent it out with one of my slugs after our dip in the hot springs. Sasuke, how about you? Have you ridden to Orochimaru? At Konoha. We joined Akatsuki because we were afraid Konoha would be targeted if we didn't. Love, Naruto and Sakura. P.S. Send me further medical scrolls so I can study them. They have a world-class ramen chef here. P.S.S. Hey, grandmother. As Jiraiya removed the letter from her, Tsunade smashed her head against the table. He scowled and said, interesting. They joined Akatsuki, whispered Tsunade. What? Oh, I meant the drawing at the bottom, where Naruto clearly drew a frog and a snake with a large needle and a cheerful face. Do you think they get along? Tsunade simply whimpered once more. In Oto. Gosh darn them, Orochimaru became furious and tore the scroll into confetti. Orochimaru-sama, perhaps we might use ginger snaps to entice Sasuke-sama to return? Kabuto proposed. It won't work, Orochimaru sighed. Sasuke wrote that he wouldn't be bribed by them as his brother makes the best. He walked the floor while Kabuto looked on indifferently. I've got a plan, he said. I want you to go track down the best ginger snap recipe you can find, then you will return and make as many as you can, then we'll put them in a pit and lure Sasuke to them. When he gets trapped we'll grab him and hightail it back here before any Akatsuki members come to retrieve him. Then we'll put him through some intense training, I'll kick his ass a few times, and we'll show him we can give him more power. Yes, it's genius. Orochimaru chuckled briefly. He sounds like he's having fun with Naruto-kun and Sakura-chan though, stated Kabuto. We'll lure them here too, Orochimaru sighed. They could be good assets and that'll really piss off both Akatsuki and my old teammates. Add a ramen recipe to your quest along with some rare medical scrolls. Yes, it's a good idea. The Kyuubi boy is quite powerful and he has the most powerful bijou. And if that Haruno girl is developing like Tsunade, I definitely wouldn't mind having her around. Where had people gotten the idea that he was a gay pedophile when the man was as much of a pervert as Jiraiya over women? Orochimaru laughed, and Kabuto simply sighed. Pain said, "You guys are up late," as Team 7 sneaked into the kitchen for breakfast. Everyone else was seated around the big table, eating, conversing, or doing something else. We would have been here earlier but Naruto wanted to tell us all about some weird dream he had, Sakura grumbled. It's fantastic, Naruto shrieked. I was like the kick-ass king of the world, and the Ramenites were my council of advisors. We had made ramen the traditional food, and then I ordered a lake of ramen to be made, which I then ate with Kyuubi. Over the commotion, Tobi called out, "Hail ramen!" Naruto came back and said, "Hail ramen!" As Sakura sat down next to the red-headed Sasori, who smirked at her, Naruto scampered over to Tobi. Sasuke sat close to Itachi, who gave him a deadpan expression. "Did you spend yesterday exploring the entire building?" Pain asked absently, as though he was bored and didn't really care at all. Yes, Sakura replied, observing that Sasuke was still hissing at his brother and Tobi and Naruto were bent over a vat of ramen. I quite enjoyed the hot springs, Sakura said. With a look of bored pleasure, Sasori replied, yes, I did too. What took place in the springs? Pain blinked, genuinely paying attention. Some others, who had nothing better to do, were listening in. Sakura-san here is missing something you would call modesty, Sasori laughed. Pain blinked. Humbleness? I'll be joining you next time, Deidara said, glancing at Sakura. Sakura simply blinked at each one in brief bewilderment. Well, you'd better get back to training today, Pain said, coughing to garner attention. Sakura shrugged and said, yes, you guys are training us, as Kisame had indicated. Yes, Pain replied, Itachi will take over Sasuke's training, but I was unsure who would best suit you and Naruto. Well, I have no idea about Naruto, but for the past few years all I've really focused on is my medical knowledge and skills. I have average taijutsu and am better at defense than offense. Other than that, my list of ninjutsu is almost nil. I do know some genjutsu though. I'm better with ninjutsu, Naruto said as he sat down with Tobi and huge bowl of noodles, but I also work on seals in my spare time. My taijutsu is average in strength and whatnot, but I don't have a set style. I don't use any weapons well either, and I'm not a strategist. I use brute strength to win my fights. What elemental alignment do you have? Pain inquired. When Sakura said, I'm earth, Naruto remarked, wind, near his noodles. Lightning, Sasuke growled, his gaze never leaving his brother's faintly grinning face. Well then, I'll send Sakura with Sasori. Sakura nodded bareheadedly as Sasori's grin widened, and Naruto observed the red head and mumbled the word, pervert, under his breath. And Naruto, well, Pain thought about it for a while, attempting to determine who would be the most suitable teacher for Naruto and who would not murder him out of frustration and impatience. I'll train you myself. Really? Naruto became alert and said, Sasuke, take that. My sensei is the leader of Akatsuki. No. He scoffed at the boy who was hissing. While I am the leader, it does not mean I am the strongest, Pain responded with ease. I am the most organized and took the role because I was best suited, and because I sorta made this whole organization. Itachi could give me a run for my money in a fight though. Sulked Naruto. Ignore him, Conan replied, he is being modest. Out of everyone here only Itachi could actually give him a challenge. They took her word for it because no one disputed it. When can we begin, then? With excitement, Naruto inquired. Pain stated, after breakfast. Conan? Sakura dialed. Yes? Conan inquired, are you aware of any stores where I may purchase clothing? Sakura scowled at Kisame, they didn't allow me time to gather my belongings when they kidnapped me. With his hands up in surrender, he claimed, following orders. Sure, I had forgotten, groaned Pain. Naruto, Sasuke, do you need anything? Between mouthfuls of ramen, Naruto remarked, I always have a scroll with me and everything I own. We move around a lot and Jiraiya gets impatient, so I just carry everything. Same, Sasuke replied, fangirls would steal it and I switched rooms every second night to throw them off. Sakura gave an eye roll. Well, I have to work at the hospital every day and scrolls get in the way. I only had my wallet because Ino had tried to borrow some money off of me earlier and I wouldn't have put it past her to snitch my wallet when I wasn't looking. I'll take you to a store I know that is good, Conan replied. Thank you. I have an objection. Everyone looked up at Zetsu and blinked. Yes, Zetsu? Pain inquired. I understand why we captured Uchiha and Uzumaki. they both have much potential and would be useful to this organization, but I do not think we should have gotten the girl. Other than some medical skills and her teacher, she is a no-name weak ninja." Naruto and Sasuke both paused, and then, as Itachi's bewildered eyes followed, Sasuke ran out of the kitchen at ninja speed. Naruto gave his ramen a protective embrace and took hold of Tobi, pulling him to the far end of the room as though to protect him. "Good luck." "What?" Pain inquired, perplexed by their behavior. Then a wave of murderous intent struck them all, causing even Pain and Itachi to tremble a little. The room's light appeared to go out, and the shadows on the wall flickered from the flames. Sakura, with her head lowered now, stood slowly and swayed as though she was unsteady. "What was the name you gave me?" she inquired quietly. "A weak no-name ninja," Zetsu said with a sarcastic grin that was clearly just beyond the heavy aura's reach. Sakura's eyes flashed dangerously and her lips were pushed back in a parody of a grin that revealed far too many teeth as she glanced up, and even Pain recoiled at her expression of pure malice. It was one of the most horrifying things Pain had ever seen. "That's what I thought, plant boy." Zetsu made a choked scream as he clutched her wrist, desperately attempting to free her, but before they could blink, she had put her hand around his throat and smashed him into the wall so forcefully that cracks were spreading out behind him. "If you ever call me weak again," Sakura said in a low, dangerous whisper, "I'll tear your balls off and shove them down your throat, then I'll gouge your eyes out and cut your tongue off. Then, while you're frozen but not sedated, I'll surgically remove a kidney in your appendix, then I'll hang you up and cut you enough to make you bleed, letting you bleed slowly until you're just about to die. Finally, I'll rip your spine out and strangle you with it. Do you get the idea?" Pain shuddered and was unable to stop the gentle trembling in his hands as the words were practically purred out, each skillfully wrapping around the listeners in the room, full of promises of pain and death. The others appeared to be equally affected, with the exception of Sasori, who was staring at her with what Pain would almost call an adoring expression. Zetsu made a strange sound in the back of his throat that might have been a whimper or a final attempt at breathing. "Are you understanding?" Sakura growled. She spun and faced the table again after he made a whimpering sound. Everyone recoiled at her snarl, with flames appearing to dance around her and death in her darkened jade eyes. Pain could almost believe there was a much larger, darker shadow making gleeful laughter behind her. "Does anyone else find me problematic?" Quick and savage, they all shook their heads, some even seeming scared. "Good." She then took a 180-degree turn, and the air around her became light and airy as the flames went out, the shadows grew smaller, and the lights returned to full. Her grin was gentle and courteous. "Oh, I'm sorry for interrupting breakfast," she said. She offered Conan and Sasori a smile full of anticipation and bowed courteously. "Before I begin my training," Conan asked whether we might visit this store. The two nodded slightly. "Thank you," she said with a smile before turning to leave the room with grace. "What?" began Pain, "was it?" Naruto and Tobi returned to the table, unfazed by the fact that they had been out of blast range, and he declared, "Sakura has multi-personality disorder." Pain scowled and said, "Her medical report says nothing of that. You also have those?" Naruto smiled and said, "But no, it wouldn't be there because she's never had to have a psych examination. You get them after B rank or higher missions, and she's never been on one except for our first C rank turned A rank, but then she was a bit better then. No one's going to gossip about it." "Man, you're good," Naruto said. Zetsu sat hunched against the wall and made a choked sound. "How are you, Zetsu?" Tobi inquired in worry. His darker side murmured, I think I'm in love. What a wonderful woman, he moaned wistfully on his lighter side. We must have her. Everybody twitched. Wow, that's creepy, Naruto commented. At least Sakura keeps all conversations with her second personality inside her head. With a smile, Sakura spun around wearing a dress she had tried on. Wow, they do have good clothes, she said. The girl behind the counter smiled. We sell badass outfits for all badass ninja, and she said, why not look badass while you kick ass and take over the world, demanding everyone's respect. It was unsettling because she had heard Naruto discuss his outfit in nearly the exact same way. You'll also be given a cloak, Conan stated. They're very nice cloaks actually, though they look restricting. It's actually quite easy to fight in them. They also help conceal weapons and are warm but cool in warm areas, and they're waterproof to a degree. Do I also receive one of the cool hats? Sakura inquired. Yes, cool. Going back to the changing room, Sakura put on her favorite dress to date, which consists of a skin-tight red tank top, spandex black shorts, and a medic skirt over the shorts. She also wore her heels and her previous medic lab coat. After getting dressed, she paid the girl, took off with the clothes she had selected, sealed them in a scroll, and returned to base with Conan. This is fantastic, as he was launched into the air by Pain's assault, Naruto said. It appears like the entire city was built to resist wars because the wall didn't even break when he flipped in midair and landed on the side of a building. 3 seconds later, he vanished as another attack crashed into the wall where he had been. Naruto moaned but was quickly up and recovered as he spun in midair once more and fell on Pain from above. Pain easily ducked and booted him into a wall. Kyubi stated absently, I just healed a ruptured internal organ. Naruto said to himself with a smile, well, at least he's not holding back. Pain was stating that he believed Naruto could withstand such strength and that he wasn't holding back because he didn't think Naruto was weak. Naruto leaped at the man once more, his hands flying into a familiar sign, and 25 clones appeared in a circle around him, each making their own hand signals. Naruto had never been taken this seriously before, so this was a sign of respect. Atsugai no Jutsu, Futon, huge gusts of wind appeared and were moving toward Pain like a hurricane while half of the clones screamed. Katan, Jutsu no Gakakyu, the second half called out, erupting in flames. Pain appeared surprised, and for a moment, Naruto believed he had won. However, the second fire attack was much weaker because Naruto hadn't mastered it yet, but it worked great with the huge winds flaring it up and creating a hurricane of fire headed at him. Then the man made his own hand signals, and a huge wind twister appeared around him. Naruto's own attack was absorbed into it, turning it into a raging fire twister. Naruto was thrown back with burns that began to heal as soon as he got them, and he hit the ground hissing. Then, for some reason that Naruto did not know, Pain did something that sent the hurricane flaring out in all directions as if struck by a shock wave. Naruto yelled, and his clones immediately leaped in front of him, shielding him from the majority of the blast. That's good enough for now. That was a good combination of jutsus you did earlier. It was a kick-ass, Naruto smiled in response to the praise. The man had whispered that he had a terrible weapon that, if he wasn't careful, could set Konoha on fire when he had revealed it to Jiraiya. He hadn't held back much and had half expected the boy to be unconscious and badly injured, so Pain arched an eyebrow at his speedy recovery and put it aside for later. How was the training? As Sasori, Sakura, Itachi, and Sasuke came into the kitchen, Pain inquired. Sakura and Sasuke sat down right away as Naruto was preparing something on one of the stoves, but Itachi and Sasori first went to their cupboards to fetch some food. Good, Sasori responded first. She is skilled in taijutsu, she learned Tsunade's monstrous strength, she also has very refined control and large chakra reserves for a kunoichi. Itachi? Pain inquired. He is better than I last saw him, Itachi stated, good with a sword and lightning jutsu, his speed is good also. How was Uzumaki-san's performance? Sasori sat in a chair and asked absently. Good, Pain replied with ease. I have a few questions for you though, Sakura, as you've known Naruto the longest, from a medical angle. Yes, Sakura sat down and inquired. She was carrying a plate of rice, stir-fried veggies, and some sort of sauce on some meat pieces, and Pain noticed that it smelt delicious. I had not known Uzumaki could cook. Neither did we, Sakura remarked. Sitting next to her, Naruto babbled about something Kyubi had said about ramen and flavors. Pain remarked, I wanted to know how advanced his healing is. They say it's very high, but how high are they? Sakura enthusiastically said, how about an example? The babbling Uzumaki made a gurgling noise and fell beneath the table after she took a kunai and stabbed him in the throat before anyone could stop her. There was a brief period of stillness as everyone began to gasp. Sakura was the only one who calmly took another bite of her meal. She remarked, quite being a drama queen Naruto, while munching on some meal. They were startled when a hand slapped the table, and Naruto got up, leaving the entire front of his jacket stained with blood. She had clearly severed an artery, and he coughed wetly, making some of them wince, before spitting a glob of blood onto his food. He opened his mouth and mouthed something, but no sound came out. He scowled and tore the kunai out, causing a spray of blood to fall onto the table. Sasori made a strange expression and wiped some blood off his cheek. He growled, and the wound healed in before of their eyes. He pouted and spoke unevenly, saying, I wasn't being a drama queen. Kyubi had to heal an artery, my jugular, and my voice box, he said. Sakura rolled her eyes, and he wiped some blood off his face with a napkin before starting to eat, not even blinking at the blood that drenched it. What is Kyubi able to cure? Pain inquired. Anything really, said Naruto. He healed all the burns and the ruptured kidney you gave me today. Pain nodded after blinking and noted that the youngster required training on his defense if such blatant attacks had been successful. He even healed my heart after Sasuke shoved a Chidori into my chest and destroyed half of it and a lung. There was a brief period of silence. Konan remarked, I thought you were friends. We are, Naruto exclaimed with joy. At precisely the same moment, Sasuke stated, we aren't. Sasuke, Naruto whimpered. After Sasuke gave him a stern look, Naruto smiled and took a ginger snap out of his pocket. He held it up, but it vanished a moment after. Ah! You're a jerk. You bit me, Naruto yelled, clutching his hand. Just chewing on the ginger snap, Sasuke. At Konoha. Tsunade groaned, and that's the situation. The council as a whole was quiet. Maybe we ought to send them something. Like a fruit basket, one person inquired. Another whispered, I guess. Make sure to put in your next letter to them that Council of Konohagakure will be ever thankful to Haruno Sakura, Uchiha Sasuke, and Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto's voice sounded like poison, for their brave sacrifice to stop the Akatsuki. We will honor them by allowing their names to be put on the monument should they die for their help in getting a neutral treaty with Akatsuki and by handing themselves over as sacrifices for said treaty, and send them one of those nice gift baskets with the wrapping and the ribbon. After that, everyone scattered, and Tsunade watched them go solemnly. She started giggling when the last person departed and the soundproof doors closed. She chuckled, they all looked so shocked. So I'm taking it that wasn't true. When she looked up after blinking through her laughter, she saw Hyuga Hayashi, Yamanaka Inoichi, Akimichi Chuza, Inazuka Tsum, Aburame Shibi, and Nara Shikaku. What? Are you still present? Yes, Lady Tsunade, Tsum replied jokingly. Oh, well, to your statement, no, it wasn't true. So, our neutral treaty with Akatsuki is null and void? Hayashi scowled. Actually we do, Tsunade replied, but they didn't come to us with the offer for a neutral treaty in exchange for Team 7. They abducted the members of Team 7 and blackmailed them into it. Blackmailed? Inoichi frowned. How about Kyubi? We are giving them what they want? Shibi asked deadpan. Tsunade gave a headshake. Akatsuki has changed its goals from what I learned, she added. They aren't after the bijou anymore. I have no idea what their new goals are, but they kidnapped Team 7 because of their strength and potential. There is a prolonged period of silence. Can we share this information with others? Hayashi inquired. Yes, I must go tell my daughter then. Tsunade claimed to have caught a glimpse of discomfort in his eyes. Was it Hinata? She is the girl that had feelings for Naruto. Yes, Hayashi said with a tight nod. The Inoichi grinned and said, she's going to tear you apart for every detail, Hayashi. Hayashi gave a nearly anxious nod. Actually, I'm going to inform Niji, and he will inform Hinata. She has a soft spot for him. When she snaps she probably won't hurt him as much. What do you say, snap? Tsunade inquired absently. Some stated, she's at the breaking point. Everyone gave a nod of assent. I've bet 20 on when she snaps she'll turn into a swearing spitfire, some laughed. I already have 10 on her attacking Hayashi outright to relieve all the pent-up anger at him, Inoichi laughed. Already have 25 on her attacking Hayashi, then slapping the Hyuga Council in the face with something, then slapping Niji, then storming off to train while formulating a plan to ensnare Naruto in her clutches, Shikaku laughed. Hayashi. Yes, Hokage-sama. Send her to my office tomorrow please, around 9 in the morning or so. I'm in need of another apprentice. Of course, Lady Tsunade. Tsunade's expression changed to a cheeky grin. In aim. Hi, Pain. Yes, Naruto? What day is it? Tuesday the 22nd. Why? I just had the feeling something is going to happen that involves me. I was wondering if I had forgotten any important dates or anything. How much time have we spent here? You mean you, Sakura, and Sasuke when you say you? It's been almost 3 weeks. Oh, all right. Tell me what you were saying before that. Pain sighed deeply. At Konoha. Yes, that's ideal, Hinata smirked and whispered, then he'll be forced to adore me. Mwahaha. I told you what? Shikaku grinned as he stood beside the other clan leaders. Some snarled, damn brainy bastard, as he gave the money. You wager on that? Hanabi, who was standing next to them and observing the devastation, blinked in shock. Inoichi said, yes, and Shikaku got it right on the dot. As he looked around the Hyuga property, Shikaku grinned at the sight of Hayashi's unconscious body, Niji moving about with a large crimson handprint on his face, and the Hyuga Council looking on in dumb disbelief at Hinata's scheming. What actions did she take against the council? Some questioned Hanabi. They had me and Hinata spar today, saying the winner would be heiress of the Hyuga clan. Hinata had been simmering after hearing the news of Naruto and beat me hands down. Then she marched up to the council, demanded that I not be given the caged bird seal. then she said she was hiring Jiraiya of the Sannin, using Hyuga coffers, to find a way to permanently remove the caged bird seal so that they could integrate the branch family into the main one so we could be one happy family. When one tried to say no, she juked him in his happy place. I love it when I win a bet and get to watch most of the carnage, Shikaka laughed. In aim. Achoo. Bless you, Pain said absently. Absently, Naruto said, I feel like someone is planning something against me. You're also perceptive about that, Sakura snorted. Yes, she rolled her eyes. Now as I was saying, Pain went on, you three will be going on your first missions tomorrow. Really? Fantastic, Naruto applauded. Not together or alone though, Conan said. Can't have you running off. Naruto said jollily, gotcha. Sasuke, you will be going with Itachi on an assassination mission. Itachi nodded despite Sasuke hissing at him. Sakura, you're going with Sasori. With a quick, I'm going with them, Zetsu. Well? As he watched Sasori and Zetsu scowl at each other above Sakura's head from their seats on either side of her, Pain grinned in delight. Well, I suppose that would be okay, he said. Everyone stopped to observe for a time as Zetsu growled and Sasori moved his chair closer to her. When Zetsu spit out, back away, puppet boy. No, cannibal, remarked Sasori casually. Can't we get along now, guys? Sakura inquired naively. Yes, Sakura, they both agreed, putting an end to the altercation as they gazed at her with admiration. Naruto blinked and said, wow, wherever she goes, she draws all the freaks. What are your thoughts? Zetsu turned to face him. Nothing at all, I never referred to you as a weirdo, Naruto denied. No, what do you mean everywhere? That's what he means. Sasori's eyes narrowed as he asked. Well, Rock Lee, the fuzzy eyebrow spandex wearing kid, likes her, and for a while Kankuro really liked her and he wears purple makeup and a cat outfit. As Sasuke snorted and Sakura blinked in bewilderment, the two narrowed their eyes. Hey, wait a minute, Naruto said, blinking, how about me? You're going with Conan and Kisame. What? Why two? Naruto inquired. Conan will keep an eye on you both as I don't trust Kisame not to try and murder you out of annoyance. But you put your faith in Sasuke to murder the clan massacring brother he vowed to do? Yes. Oh, Naruto said, blinking. For now, get some rest and pack up, Pain said quietly. Oh, and there are some gift baskets from Konoha for you in your rooms.